Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. My name is Barbara and this is my colleague David.
And we're business analysts at Odoo, to be specific, services experts. We have a webinar that we're very excited to show you.
Yes, we are very excited today. Today we're going to show you the new features for the version 16. My colleague David here, he's going to present a demo of how to use this demo as these new features, and at the end of the presentation I'm going to join you again for the Q&A session.
That's right. Well, thank you, Barbara. Of course, we'll see you again in a few moments. But for now, how about we advance with some of the, let's call it instructions of the webinar. Okay. One thing to take into account is that we're going to use this survey link throughout the webinar to see if you're paying attention, to involve you in the webinar, in the decisions we're going to make, and of course to have some interaction, because otherwise it will be a very boring monologue from my part. You can quickly access this link. I will suggest to do it right now, actually, because we have the first question prepared for you. So I'll give you a few seconds, buy some time by saying some things while you access the QR code, click on the link, whatever you need to do. And yeah, that's enough time. All right, so my first question for you, just to have an idea of where we are, is what is your level of experience with Odoo? Maybe you use it daily in your everyday life. Okay, already someone, that's perfect. Oh, a lot of experience here. But there are some people who have not tried it at all. Exactly, what is Odoo? And there are other people in the middle. Maybe they have tried it, they have downloaded one of our databases, or rather created one. They have used some other ERPs. So we have a lot of combinations here, mostly people who are very knowledgeable, which is great, because then we can go full in detail with the new features of the services apps. But we also have some people who found this link, are quite curious, just want to see what is up, and we're also taking into account, so don't worry. We have a lot of people. Feel free to join in. If you have friends with a lot of free time, also call them over. We'll have a lot of fun during the webinar. So I see that we have already over 100 answers, and the ratio won't change too much, and we have a lot to cover. So let's move on, because today the meat of the webinar, the meat of the presentation, is the demo. We're going to pretend, we're going to play that we're the founders, the managers, the workers are at a drone manufacturer company called Airproof Inc. And we're in charge of the services departments, whether it means being in charge of the support team or the very advanced, complex projects that we handle every day. So I need your help to go in a day-to-day operations in this company. And for that, we have created this database. Let's start with our tour then with the Helpdesk app. So the Helpdesk app is the tool that our super support team uses every day to answer tickets and solve our clients' issues. If a client has a problem with one of our drones, maybe it's buggy, it's broken previous to the guarantee time, something along these lines, then they will be the first people to answer and try to help them. And to make things as smooth as possible for our clients, they don't have to go through a lot of hoops, so they just express what are their concerns or comments or feedback on our product. All they have to do is use this email alias right here, send whatever information they want to send us, and Odoo will do the rest. Odoo will grab the subject of the email, create a ticket with the name of that subject, and the body of the ticket will be the body of the email itself. Let's see it at work. So right here we already have a problem to solve from this client. They say that their drone is not working, and more specifically, they have been having issues with their Airproof Hummingbird because it doesn't steer right. It's been going slower for the past few months, and on top of that, the camera videos are all blurry. So we need to help them, and urgently. Okay, so let's pretend that we have worked a little on these problems, and we came to the conclusions that it's not an issue that's specific to this one client, but it is something wider for these models. Then we should communicate our research and development team, so we submitted feedback task and they can have a deeper look at it, and hopefully we can help this client and everyone else who has this model. But to improve our communication, our research and development team, they want straight answers, straight messages. So we prepared a template with all the information they need for their feedback so they can have a quick look at it and start working right away. And for that, we're going to use, I'm going to assign myself, of course. How could I not? We're going to use the newest app in Odoo 16, the Knowledge app. More specifically, this book icon right here that will take me to the different articles in my Knowledge app. More information on that you can find in the OXP videos that we recorded that series. They're quite fun. But I'm going to go into my templates article, where I already have a template created for this kind of occasions, because my research and development team needs to know the model, the year, the parts that are facing some issues, and exactly what is the issue. Instead of having to recreate this table every time I submit a feedback task, I can just click on this button right here, just as a description, and Odoo copy-paste it right there. So I can start filling the table in with the model, which is a airproof hummingbird. Don't correct my spelling. From 2018. And it has a few issues. One is the motor that is too weak. I can quickly add a few lines for the rest of the table. So it also has issues with the wings because they don't steer right, they're unstable. And with the motor. Oh, the motor I already included, sorry, the camera. It's too blurry. Okay. Now that it's done, I need to communicate with my research and development department. And to do things as quickly as possible, instead of sending them an email with this information, I'm going to use one of Odoo's newest features to my advantage. So if I click on this action button, I will be given the option to convert this Helpdesk ticket created by a client into a task in the project for the research and development feedback. So immediately I'm prompted to choose a project. Of course, it's going to be research and development feedback, and it's going to be the first stage. That way, my research and development team can look at the feedback that has been submitted right away without having to waste time writing an email or anything like that. I just click on convert, and I'm taken into the screen of the project. So all the information has been transferred exactly as I wrote it. They can start debating on what to do about this ticket, or rather this task, whether it's going to be a development or they're going to deploy it, and finally go to arrive into a solution for this customer. But regarding the customer and regarding the ticket they created, information is not lost. We don't want that to happen, of course. So if I go back into the original ticket, you will see that it has been archived. And that is to avoid any kind of white noise, having a double record of this one single problem, and people getting confused on whether something has been resolved or not. But if at some point I wanted to, let's say, continue working on it, because it turns out that it's not a good feedback, then I can unarchive it with my action button. So I think we covered everything in the Helpdesk app. Already a lot to improve that has been improved in Odoo 16, and we can move on to the calendar to book a meeting with the team leader of the research and development team right after this webinar. Let's call it feedback, and that way I can follow up on the feedback as soon as possible. Of course, I'm going to edit it. I'm going to add Quentin, the team leader, and I can also add a link to our video call even before the meeting is going to happen. This is something new in version 16, and we can take advantage of it because let's say that this webinar is over sooner than expected. You don't have many questions. Everything is super clear, and I can have this meeting with Quentin. I don't need to wait until 5 o'clock to have this meeting. I can just tell Quentin, okay, you have the link, let's access it, and let's discuss this right away. Let's not waste any time. Speaking of not wasting any time, I'm gonna save and close right here. And we're gonna move on with the next app. And sorry, it's quite embarrassing, but I'm getting a call right now. Give me 1 second, this is super important. Hello? Oh yeah? Well, that's amazing. I mean, wow. Thank you so much. No. We're gonna do great things together, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm gonna share their news. That's great. All right, until Sunday. See you. Bye. Wow. Guys, I have fantastic news for you because we just landed a huge partnership with a big electronic goods reseller here at our company. We're going to boost our businesses from their side because they're going to sell a lot of drones and they're going to have a lot more revenue. And from our side because, well, we're going to sell a lot of drones, of course. So we have to help them help us. And for that, we created a partnership package that I'm sure you will help me with by delivering the following things. Okay, first thing is a training for their technicians. We have to deliver some 300 hours of training. Why? Because we're going to create a workshop in each of their flagship stores. By the way, the company is Electromart, quite prestigious. And in each of these workshops, they must have technicians that are ready to modify, to train people on the product, to repair the product. They're going to be certified in our product, so we have a name to maintain. If someone is certified on our drones, then they better know how to use them. Next, we're gonna refit their stores, 8 of them total, in 3 different sizes. What this means is that we're going to modify their warehouses, the stores themselves, because our drones might not be the biggest, but they come in very particular sizes. And we need to adapt the shelves, adapt the displays, adapt the warehouses, make sure that everything is ready so they can sell as much as possible. Finally, but definitely not least, to celebrate this partnership, we're going to create a marketing campaign for each of our 4 mainline products. This campaign will boost our sales, will boost their sales, because at the end of every promotional material, we'll say loud and clear, you can buy our drones at Electromart, and we'll boost our sales because we're promoting our very cool line of drones. We will create the campaign ourselves since we're the ones who know our product the best. And since we're doing a partnership together, they have some skin in the game as well. They will have to approve the marketing report so we can go ahead. So I hope everything is clear. I know I threw a lot of information at you, but I'm sure it will become clear once we see it in our database. Because I created this little sales order to explain better exactly what we want to do. This is divided in 3 different sections, one for the training, one for the marketing campaign, and one for the refitting services. We, of course, have specific products for each of these services that I want to go over. So first, the technicians training. For the few of you who are not familiar with Odoo, just so you know, this is where you configure your products, the different characteristics that it has. For example, the prototype, which in this case, it's of course a service, and the invoicing policy, which in this case is a prepaid fixed price invoicing policy. What does that mean? It just means that if they want to receive this training, they will have to pay for it first. We will deliver the 300 hours of training only after the payment has been done. Maybe you're familiar with it if you have worked with our consultancy packages. And our consultancy packages, I mean Odoo, not Airproof. But what we do is that we sell packs that can be 25-hour, 50-hour, 100-hour packs, and the consultant will start working on it after the invoice is made. Also, a project will be created that will allow our technicians that provide the training to the other technicians to timesheet the hours and make sure that they're not working extra hours without compensation. And then here we have a very interesting field called Plan Services. This is related to the planning app. And what it will do is that once the sale order is confirmed, besides creating the project, besides creating the task, it will also prompt me to plan the 300 hours that I'm selling. And it would prompt me to plan them as a demo drone. So you might be asking yourself, why a demo drone and not a technician, for example? Okay, there are two very good reasons. One, here at Airproof, we have plenty of technicians. There's always one available, so I'm not concerned about there coming a day that I need to provide a training, but no technicians are available. But we only have one demo drone, and this is a vital tool for technicians to work with. We need to make sure that if we're going to plan a training, then this demo drone is available for the technicians to use. The second reason is quite frankly because I wanted to showcase that in Odoo 16, you can have material resources like a drone as opposed to just an employee as roles in the planning app. So that enables me to extend the way we plan our services in Airproof Inc. For example, using this field right here to plan the usability of our drone. Okay, I'm sure that was well understood. If it wasn't, just make a question in the comments or right after the presentation. So next is our marketing campaign, which is as well a service, naturally. And in this case, it will have a based on delivered quantity or manual invoicing policy. This, as the name implies, means that we're going to deliver the units sold, the products, by going manually into the sell order lines and saying, okay, I have delivered 1 unit. Okay, I have delivered 2 units, so on and so forth. Pretty standard. And some of you might think this is familiar if you have used previous versions of Odoo, because this is how the old, and I emphasize, old milestone invoicing policy worked. We will see more about that later. But for now, I just want to mention that this gives us a lot of flexibility because when it comes to a marketing campaign, we will create a report. We will do our best, of course, but we won't consider it as delivered unless the partner, Electromart, approves it. So it might come to the situation that we're done with the report, we deliver it, and then we have to take it back and go back to the drawing board. Have a second draft, a third draft, so on and so forth until we arrive into an agreement that this is a good marketing report. It will, of course, create a project based on the marketing campaign project that was tailor-made for this partnership and that we will look in detail much later. Then is the refitting services. Now, the refitting services use the based on milestones invoicing policy that I alluded to, and that it has been improved, revamped, and extended for Odoo 16. Before, we didn't have a link between our milestones and our sell orders. Well, now we do. Not only that, but we also have a link between our milestones and our project management, our tasks. So everything is fully integrated, and it enables us to save some time between communication in the sales department, in the project management department, between people who are just assignees or who are the project managers of the project, worth the redundancy. I will show you this in full detail because we're going to take absolute advantage of this feature. So it's also going to create a project, a refitting project, that will have some tasks based on the size of the stores, based on the specific stores themselves. And if I go back into the sell order, you'll see that I have different lines. So we agreed on selling it by the different sizes, so by the small stores, by the medium-sized stores, and the flagship stores. But of course, those have different values, different quantities as well. Besides different unit prices, we see that there are 4 small stores to refit, 3 medium-sized stores to change, and 1 big flagship store that we must work on. Then, again, I know I threw a lot of information to you. I hope you have been paying close attention because I have a question for you. And the question is, how many milestones will be created? Now, I will stay in the screen a little longer. You can go back to your survey. But just so you know, there are 8 stores total, 3 different lines, and 1 product. So let's go into the survey. How many milestones will be created? 8 is an option, 3 is an option, 1 is an option, or maybe none, I don't know. It's whatever you think. There is one right answer, I was lying. So, okay, we have 1 there in person. The answers are coming in. Of course, this is one that you really have to think on, but I'm sure you'll come to the right answer eventually. I find it curious that nobody thinks it's 0. I'm not saying 0 is right, but okay, there you go. Perfect. I will not comment about the results. I just want to see it evolve. But of course, we cannot stay here all day. So think well, think fast. You won't be graded, don't worry. This is just to see if you're paying attention, and of course for all the pride, for all the glory, to see if you're right. And we have 57 answers. Let's see if we can get to 75. Let's go, guys. Good, good. Well, the ratios are more or less staying the same. A few daring people who say 0, a few daring people who said 1, but it's mostly between 8 and 3. So, sorry for the people who are still waiting, but we're going to confirm this sales order and see how many milestones will be created. Okay, so if you answered 3, congrats. Let me just look how many people. To those 25 people, you have been paying close attention, or maybe you're one of those people who use Odoo every day. Could also be. But indeed, 3 milestones are created, 1 for each sell order line. As a matter of fact, the milestones are inheriting the name of the sell order line, so the flagship stores, the medium-sized stores, the small stores, as we chose to categorize our different stores, and they're automatically linked to a sell order. This alludes a little to what I was mentioning before, that we have the link between the sales and the milestone. We're going to see that in practice later. We also see some other fields. Some of them you might recognize or maybe not, but it's not the right time to explain them just yet. Now, what we must do, as in any other project, before we start working, we have to start planning. And why not start with the 300 hours to plan for the training? So, as I said, from the technician's training, Odoo is prompting us to plan the 300 hours that we're selling. And if I click on this smart button, I'm going to be taken to a screen of the planning app where I'm shown all of the shifts planned by role. So, for example, demo drone, and by resource, which could be just a drone. Of course, I don't have anything planned yet, but I can start planning by clicking here. Just add a shift, selecting my drone, and I will then select my date and some other things. But now I want you to realize that the role has been selected automatically because it inherits information from the product. Same with the project, same with the sell order item. So I'm already being saved some time by planning these shifts, and I'm ensured that I'm not going to make any mistakes. Speaking of mistakes and speaking of planning, I'm going to play it safe. Just plan for February, and I really don't know what is my partner's availability. I'm not quite sure of how intense our training can be, but I do know that we can have at least one training session every Thursday. So I'm going to create a shift on Thursday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Automatically, the allocated time is 2 hours, so quick math. And I can repeat this shift weekly instead of having to create it one manually every week, which would be a nightmare, of course. So I just click on the repeat button. It's gonna repeat once a week until the end of the month. Because at the end of the month, I'm gonna review this training schedule again. I'm gonna see if we can increase the intensity, if we have to, on the other hand, pull it back, or if we should change from a Thursday to a Wednesday, whatever is more convenient. So if we save it, the shifts are right away created, and we can see all of the shifts for the other weeks as well. And this is already a very good starting point. So let's go back to a sales order. We still have some work to do. Next is the marketing campaign. Now, as you remember, I have to create a marketing report for each of my mainline products, which I will be able to see in the automatically created project for the marketing campaign and the tasks that were created from that template. The idea is that I'm going to create a marketing campaign report for the Airproof Hawk, the Airproof Falcon, the Airproof Hummingbird, and the Airproof Pigeon. I'm going to start by brainstorming some ideas with the team. We're going to do some market research, make sure that we're targeting the right people. We're going to produce that report and eventually be done with the report. So let's play the time traveler and say that after some time we have arrived to this report. The marketing team worked really hard on it, and I think it's quite good because they came to some good actions. One is to change the name of the Airproof Pigeon from Airproof Pigeon to Airproof Pigeon Plus. That will indicate that our product has improved drastically from previous versions, and also it will attract a more luxurious crowd, let's say. On top of that, we're going to sponsor a cycling team. Why? Well, we want to target professional cycling enthusiasts, people who want to film their drone shots of them riding their bicycle in the Alps, and young thrill seekers. Also, as part of the partnership, we're going to add a phrase available in Electromart at the end of all the promotional material we produce. The budget for all of this, only 50,000 euros. So it's a pretty good deal, I think. I'm gonna say this report is approved. Move it to this stage. And normally I would ask my partner, Electromart, whether it's good for them or not. But the problem is that Electromart is not a real company with real people. It's a fake company with fake people. Instead of asking them, I'm gonna ask you. So far, I have absolutely led this demo. It has been only my decisions, my actions that have taken a effect over the demonstration, but now it's your chance. So I want you to decide if you would approve this campaign or not. So go ahead, start voting. It's either a yes or no. I know what I would vote. Now, if you need a reminder, we're gonna change the name to Airproof Pigeon Plus. We're gonna sponsor a cycling team, pretty cool. And we're gonna target the young thrill seekers and the cycling enthusiasts. It's a well-rounded project, I think. We have only one no, of course. This is the perfect report. Okay, so more no's, but still more yes. So we're doing great. And people are still thinking, okay, 50,000 euros. It's a lot of money, but it's good money. It's a proper investment, I would say. I see people are more quick to answer to this question than the previous one. Well, that's good. So, okay. A lot of yeses. I like that. I like that. We worked really hard on that, so thank you guys. Those who are voting no, I know you are hard to please, but we'll do better next time. It's okay. And we have plenty of answers. I don't think there's any way that the no's will overpass the yes. Are we going to close it? I think we're going to close it, guys. Yes. Yes, won. Thank you. Gracias. So we're going to submit this report. Congrats, guys. We finished the first marketing campaign. And to submit the report, we can, of course, use the shutter of Odoo. Here I have it right here. save, well, or go back and save. It saves automatically, of course. That's Odoo. And then I will be prompted to know that there has been a document attached to this project, to this task itself, rather. This is a very cool tool because I will be directed straight to the Documents app, where there's a workspace that was automatically created for this project. Those of you who are not familiar with the terminology, workspace is something akin to a folder, a space where I keep all my documentation. And this is something that's new from Odoo 16. In cases like this, where I may have 1 draft, 2 drafts, 3 drafts of the same campaign, I want to see a full history of what has been going on in the project. And I get just that. Not only am I being told what project it belongs to, but also what task and the typical information I would expect from the Documents app. So who uploaded it, when they uploaded it, if it has a priority, etc., etc., etc. Normally, I would see many drafts, but the marketing campaign, the marketing team did a fantastic job. So this is the official campaign we're going to deliver. And you, of course, have a very good taste in marketing campaigns. So we're going to go back to our sales order, where we're going to manually mark this as delivered. Or actually, let's mark the 4 of them. Why not? Why not? I'm given that flexibility, so why not use it, right? And finally, let's move on to the refitting services project that has been automatically created with this sales order, by the way, where, as explained before, we will find a task for the different types of stores, or in this case, maybe milestones. And of course, we'll find some subtasks, so tasks within tasks for the different individual stores. In the case of the small stores, we have a corner store, some mall kiosk, nothing too fancy. Then move on to the Plaza store, and then finally the flagship store. The one flagship store we're gonna work on, the Giga store. So we know what we have to work on. We also know how much we have to work, because I did a rough estimate of the hours it would take our project managers to work on each of these tasks. Starting from the flagship store, very complex, 800 hours just from project management, a lot of work. Then go to something a little more simple, 600 hours total for the medium-sized stores, and finally some 500 hours for the small stores. Again, I'm not going to include the time for the builders in the ground doing the hard work, not because I don't appreciate it, but because I want to use this as a screen for my project managers. And then finally, speaking of project management, as every other good project manager, I know that we should deliver first on the quick wins before we move on to more complex tasks. That's why I'm using the task dependencies feature of Odoo and blocking some of these tasks with other tasks. So I'm gonna work first with the small stores, then the medium-sized stores, and then the flagship store, finally. So the flagship store is blocked by the medium-sized stores, which is blocked by the small stores, and the small stores, it's a quick win. We're gonna be done with it quickly. It's not gonna be blocked by anything. Okay, I think we're ready to start assigning these tasks to our hardworking team. So I'm gonna assign the flagship store to Barbara. I know she's busy right now, but she can handle it. Quentin is gonna work on the medium-sized stores, and then I will work on the small stores. Perfect. Then we're ready to plan our tasks. We have everything we need, except, well, if you have used Odoo in the past, you might notice we don't have the plan date field. Like, it should be somewhere here. So where do we plan our tasks, David? Let me explain. Well, you could, in previous versions, use the plan date field to plan your task, but it's not really a good practice, because if you're gonna plan something, you should take full advantage of the tools Odoo provides to you. And that will be the Gantt view. The Gantt view is the perfect view to plan your tasks in the future, because it will allow you to look at the assignees, at their availability, at even some time off, different tasks that have already been planned, all kinds of things. So let's use this to our favor. I'm gonna select a starting date, let's say the 1st of February, so tomorrow. We're gonna start working on this right away. I'm gonna click on the magnifying glass in case you missed it. Here's a quick replay, magnifying glass, and that will take me to the planning of the existing tasks. So the flagship stores, the small stores, and the medium-sized stores. I could select them individually and think, well, I think this person has availability there, we should start there. But it's too complicated. There's too many things to take into account: the dependencies, the amount of hours per task, the assignees. I'm gonna use one of Odoo's newest features, planning by batch. Select them all, and let Odoo do some of the hard work here. So I just click on select. Immediately, everything is planned, and I want to point out a few things. So one, regarding the dependencies, you might be confused to why are they planned on the same times? If one was blocked by the other, what is going on here? Don't be alarmed, because Odoo is indicating me through this orange arrow, let's call it, that there is a slight conflict between the tasks. I'm allowed to start working on them at the same time because they have different allocated hours, different lengths, and the small stores will be finished before the medium-sized stores are finished, which will be finished before the flagship stores are finished. The tasks are incrementally more complex. But if I wanted to be strict about it, have a strict conflict between these tasks, and say, no, I will not start with the medium-sized stores until I'm done with the small stores, then I can decide to do that quite easily. See, if I hover over the flagship store's orange arrow, I will see these 3 different icons. So in this case, I will say that I will start with the flagship stores last and move this all the way to the back, and then move on to the medium-sized stores. Before I do that, though, I want to point out another thing that is very beneficial from using the Gantt view, and that is that Odoo is prompting me to take into account that Quentin is on time off between the 28th of February to the 15th of March. That is a considerable amount of time. Of course, he can do that, and I'm sure he will have a lot of fun, but we need to consider that into our planning for the project. So here's where I take a decision on whether to find a replacement, whether to stop the project, the refitting through that time, or I don't know, maybe plan some tasks ahead so people can manage without Quentin. But I will take that into account later. Thank you, Odoo, for reminding me. I'll just move this farther into the future. And we're left with the small stores. I will start working it right away, and by right away I mean tomorrow, until the 28th of April. And then we can move on with the rest of the tasks. So, speaking of working, let's do that. Let's go back into the project and use something to our advantage. Now, I alluded to before that we could link also the milestones with our tasks, not only the cell order lines, and for that we have this field right here. Naturally, I'm going to link the small stores with the small stores milestone, the medium size with the respective small store milestone, and finally the flagship store with the flagship store milestone. If I go into my Gantt view, I can even see what milestone everything is related. What will happen then is that after some time, because we've been doing a lot of work recently, and we're actually done with the small stores, we will mark this as done. We'll be done with refitting these stores. Something will happen with the milestone. Something that I can check from many different places, but I hope as a good project manager, you will check it from the project update view. to take full advantage of it. It tells you a lot of relevant information for a project, the revenue, profitability, and the milestones. So what just happened is that Odoo recognized that every milestone, every task related to this milestone has been completed, and it has thus marked this milestone as green. What it's basically telling me is that, okay, it seems that you're done with this milestone. You might want to mark it as reached, but we're not gonna force that over you, because it could happen that maybe a new store appeared out of nowhere, and now we have to refit it, or I have to validate that this milestone has been reached with someone else. That is always up to me, but Odoo does some of the work for me by telling me, okay, it seems like you're ready to mark this as reached, and I will do that. So just a quick check mark, and then I can go back to my sales order, because you will see that the 4 small stores that I intended to refit have been delivered. So now there's an automatic delivery once I mark the milestone as reached, and there's a prompt for me to do that once those tasks are marked as done. Already saving me a lot of time of communicating with the sales department, of communicating with the different assignees of the tasks, and just, giving me a well-rounded system that I can use in the future. So what's left to explain, I would say, is this mysterious field, the quantity percentages, and I'm gonna explain what it is through an example. Let's say that throughout this refitting process, Electromart opened a new small store that now we have to work on. This was not originally demanded. This was not part of the quantity in my sell order, but I did deliver it. I did do the refitting service. How do I represent that? If it was like the marketing campaign, I could just click here, change a 4 to a 5, and everyone is happy. But now I have the milestone invoicing policy, so I need to find another solution. Well, for cases like that, or even more cases, I would say, we have the quantity field right here. And the quantity field is the relative value of the milestone to the demanded quantity. If it's 100%, then the value of the milestone is 100% of the demanded quantity. I delivered milestone, 4 stores are delivered, which are 4 stores part of the sales order. But if I switch this to a number higher or lower than 100%, the quantity will change. So I want to switch it to 125. Of course, save. Go back to a sales order, and I will see that 5 units have been delivered. Okay, so very happy with the work done so far, especially because it turns out that we have finished all the projects. We can mark the milestones as reached, and everything is ready to be invoiced. Once I do that, you will notice that the total amount of my sales order is different than the total amount of the invoice because of that extra unit that I invoiced. And this is something you can see right here. Okay, guys, well, it has been a lot of work. It has been fun work and rewarding work. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope that you learned a lot of things. Some of those things Barbara will help me recap through these little slides right here. Wow. Right, Barbara?
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
It was an amazing presentation. I don't know about you guys, but I really like seeing the features and how do they work in practice. It was a very nice demo.
Thank you.
So let's recap a little bit on the features that David just showed us. Here you can see the slides, and I have grouped the new features per application, and then we can review one by one. So for the Helpdesk application, we saw how to convert tickets into tasks. This is, as we saw, very useful in order to improve the collaboration between teams and the transfer of information between one application and the other. Also related to Helpdesk, we saw how to use the knowledge application in order to create templates for your tickets. Please keep in mind that this can be done also in your tasks. So you can create templates on tasks, and you can also create templates for emails. Moving on to the calendar application, we learned how to create a link for a video call, which is a new feature that I think many people was expecting. For the project application, we saw how to plan in batch a list of different tasks at once in the Gantt view. This is very useful, and I think it will save you a lot of time. We also saw the new improved milestone invoicing policy. A lot of companies invoiced based on the milestone deliver, so I think this was also a feature that is a big improvement.
Absolutely.
For the project, we also saw that there's a new integration with the documents application, and this is also super useful because, you know, for many projects, you need a lot of documentation for customers or spreadsheets or contracts, and now you can have everything in one place. Finally, for the planning, we saw how to include material resources into our roles, which will help your planning and will make everything, hopefully, easier for you.
That's right. So a lot of new things that we can take advantage on. Thank you, Barbara. And I hope everything was clear, but if not, then we have a Q&A session, which is great. We'll stay here with you, write down your questions, and we'll get to them as soon as possible. So see you soon. Okay, well, we have a lot of messages. I see people reporting from all corners of the world. I see we have here a question regarding invoices. What are clear payments on invoices that are posted? I'm not using Odoo to reconcile monthly bank statements. Not really on the scope of the video, but can we clear payments on invoices that are posted?
You can configure that on the journal of your bank, the bank that you're using to register the payment. But yes, it's not really in the scope of this presentation.
I think regardless, we need a little more information on that.
Yeah.
But you can check a lot of information in the Odoo Slides website, where you can have a lot of e-learning videos. Okay. What about this? The date format depends on the country field. Okay, this is an answer.
Yeah.
Regarding Helpdesk, how do you avoid
the next one, I think. Yeah.
Yep. How do you avoid a ticket from getting lost if you convert it into a project task and make sure that the customer receives regular updates on the ticket until it's solved? You want to answer it, or should I go?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So basically, when you convert a ticket into a task, you're going to see that the ticket is going to be archived. This is in order to reduce the white noise, like you said in your presentation, which is very accurate. And the idea is that both departments will not be following the flow at the same time. So we think that once the ticket is created into a task, then the other department in the project will be following up with a ticket with a customer. But otherwise, when they finish, you can also convert the task into a ticket because the feature works both ways.
Indeed, the logic behind Odoo is always to give you the most amount of flexibility as possible. So, as Barbara said, it works both ways. It's archived just to avoid the white noise, the double registry of information, but you can always look at it back later if you need to. Okay, 2 questions right here. Is there a way to add a signature on my invoices? Also, can I create a statement of account for each customer? For the second one, indeed you can. However, I don't know if that's the best solution, considering we already have ways to acknowledge the balance of each of your customers. You can have a generic account for your customers and still be able to see what the balance for each customer is because of the different fields that we have in Odoo. It's a very cool feature. For the first one, do you want to go for it?
Yes, adding a signature on my invoices. I don't think that's possible, but you can definitely do it if you have Studio.
Exactly. Studio is kind of like the end
Magic
of the
answer.
the magic answer, exactly. This is interesting. How do I integrate my records in the existing Odoo into the new Odoo 16? Well, we have a upgrade team that is specialized on that. If it's on a supported version, they will work with you, if I'm mistaken, as part of your enterprise subscription. Yes, thank you. And this is information that you can find in the Odoo website. I'm sure they will be able to explain more about this in more detail than we can in this webinar. Okay, I see some people decided to vote in the shatter. not what you had to do, but thank you. We'll see some more votes. A very cool link to try the database. Okay. Is it possible to show the allocated hours on the project as well as the hours spent, allowing me to see how many hours remain in total? Absolutely, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
So you can see it in the timesheet tab of your tasks, or if you have the in the list view, you can also see the planned amount and the hours used on each task. And at the end of the list, you're going to see also the accumulated sum of all the tasks as well.
Indeed, indeed. Perhaps we can go back to the database, do a little example of that. If we go to our project, the refitting one, where we already have some allocated hours.
Okay. So maybe,
if necessary, we could see all the information regarding the timesheets here. Of course, the allocated hours, but also the hours spent. So if I worked a lot and I spent 100, those will be recorded right here. But as Barbara said, you can also see this information in the timesheet app. So you have all kinds
in
of
the list view, I said, but okay, you can also see in the timesheet app.
yes, sorry. Well, yeah, many resources, many resources.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay. How do I add subtasks to a task generated from a sales order and still have access to move the subtasks around the great Kanban view? Okay, you can always add subtasks even if the task was created from the sales order. You can even later on, let's do it right here. For example, this was created from a sales order. There's no trickery involved. Call it example. And you can even link it or unlink it to the sale order in case you want it to be billable or not. So again, you have all the flexibility you need to do.
Yeah, and in order to see it in the Kanban, you just have to add the project to the task that you're creating.
Indeed, indeed. Almost missed that. Thank you, Barbara. So let's move on. How can I copy paste projects to duplicate repetitive projects such as implementation projects? It's a good one. So what we can use in our favor, if I'm understanding correctly, is project templates. If you remember from the beginning of the presentation, well, not the beginning, but the sales portion of the presentation, all of our products here, I cannot answer it right away. Voila. All of our products here use a project template that will be copied once the sale order is confirmed. So that's why once I confirmed the sales order, there was a project called sales order 001, this project, and the refitting project as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use project as templates so that they're created directly on the sales when the sales order is confirmed. And if you want to duplicate a project, you can also do it if you access the settings of the project. So maybe you can show on the 3 dots.
Yes.
And settings. And from here, you can duplicate through the action button.
Exactly. So for very special occasions that there's no sales order involved. Okay, but moving on. Very generic question, what is Odoo? We always ask ourselves that. What else do we have here? What about recurrent tasks? Interesting. We didn't cover this in the scope of this presentation, but we do have that option. I didn't see the configuration part having option for recurrent tasks or different Odoo versions. Well, even Odoo 16, we do have the option for recurrent tasks.
Yes, it's a feature that was available before Odoo 16.
Mhm.
That's why it was not covered during this presentation. But yes, indeed, you can activate recurrent tasks from the settings, and then you will be able to activate them on your project settings as well. So on the project level, you can choose if you want recurrent tasks or not. And then, you will just have a new tab on your tasks to make them recurrent.
Indeed, indeed. You can take a lot of advantage of this. It's a very powerful feature that we have. But for more information on that, I suggest checking some of our e-learning videos. I'm sure we have one related to this feature. Okay. What else do we have here? Is a customer portal also possible where they can see the status of their ticket? Indeed, indeed. Actually, within each of the I was going to say sales team, but the helpdesk teams, we can enable different kinds of visibility for our customers. I'm just going to quickly access the app and show you where you can configure it if you wanted it in the future, right here. So you can invite your internal, external users, and of course, always communicate with them through the shadow of the ticket as well. Okay. What do we have here? Are there any plans for the Knowledge app to allow for multi-language setup for some topics so that content can be added for the same topic, just with the language code in the URL switcher?
That's a great question, and we really appreciate the feedback. We are going to make sure to move it forward internally.
Yeah. That's something that, the Knowledge app is the newest app. So the more feedback like this we receive, the better, because the more we can improve.
Yeah.
How to change colors of the tasks in calendar, so the events.
I'm not sure this is possible.
If I'm mistaken, you can do it only with Studio.
Okay.
So again, magic answer, Studio. The next question is, how can I add my current account so that it can be seen in the printed invoice form? I think.
My current account? Okay, so if you're referring to your bank account details, you can add them to your terms and conditions or to the description on the payment terms. So you can say if the payment term is bank transfer, then you can add a message that's going to be displayed on every invoice.
Indeed. More questions coming in. Let's continue. How do you set a drone as a resource in the first place, and so you can select it later? Good. I actually skipped over that part. It's something I configured in the background, but we can see our roles and our resources in the planning app. Just clicking, if I'm mistaken, in configuration, roles. Now I only created one drone for this demo. In a normal company, I might have more. And I can select the different resources that form part of this role. How do I create resources? Well, if it's an employee, I can do it from here. It's a material, I can do it for here. But essentially, when it comes to roles, now in Odoo 16, I can choose material and human resources, employees, whatever I need. Okay. What about a separate customer portal? That indeed exists in standard. Of course, you can see things like your sales order, your invoices, even your projects that the person using Odoo has sold. So it is an option and it exists in standard. More webinar about services. I believe so. Why not? Let's see. More questions. So, when exactly is a recurrent task created, Barbara?
When will the assignee see it on the project app? Okay. So basically, a recurrent task is going to be created on the date of the recurrence. So, for example, if you have a recurrence set with the duration to be, for example, every week, then and you create it on the Monday, and it has to be recurrent on the next Monday, then only on the next Monday it will be created.
Indeed.
So plan accordingly.
Exactly. Be careful, we will create it in the day of the recurrence.
Yeah.
Um, about local on-premise install, I believe maybe a technical consultant will be best suited to answer these questions, or maybe
I
someone
don't really
commercial.
understand the question, but maybe you can be a little bit more explicit.
Okay. Oh, I see that there's some positive feedback about the Knowledge app. So great.
Nice.
Can the calendar be integrated with Microsoft Outlook? There is a Outlook integration.
Yes, you can integrate the calendar with either Outlook or Google Calendar.
Indeed, indeed. How can we manage resource cost, material cost? Good that you made that distinction. When it comes to human resources cost, so just employees, that can be managed from the employee tab. Sorry, the HR settings tab, where you find an hourly cost. And when it comes to the material resources, it really depends. For example, if we're talking about the word is escaping me, a work center, sorry, you can indeed manage a cost, but not every material resources needs a cost.
Yeah, so basically you will do it through analytic accounting. You can add an analytic account, the one that you set up on your project. You can add it to your purchase orders, your invoices, your bills, and this way you can keep track of all the costs and incomes of your project. Yeah, so if you purchase something that you're going to use for a project, you can add the analytic account directly there. If you're manufacturing something that you're going to use for a project, you can also add the analytic account there.
Indeed, indeed. Also a very powerful tool, analytic account, so make the best out of it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to get reports out of Odoo for tasks, projects, helpdesk apps? So it really depends, I would say, of what information we're trying to receive, but definitely going to the different apps, you will find a reporting section where you can see, well, in the case of the project app, the task analysis views you can take to your advantage, use the measures, filters, group by, all the information you need. And in case you want to do something a little bit more creative, maybe even use the pivot view and go wild with it in a spreadsheet. So, what else do we have here?
What's the best way? Okay.
Maybe I should increase the screen.
Yeah, thank you.
Much better.
Yeah, thanks. It was a little bit small.
Yeah.
Can external resources be allocated for a job in a project? No. If you are working with projects and you want to assign people, you need to use users. On the other hand, if you're planning in the planning applications, yes, it doesn't have to have a user.
Yeah. Nothing to add there. Perfect answer. Okay. Is there a custom way I can remove POS receipt numbers I can retrieve and update it in the server that can be shared by several post sessions? For questions as specific as this, I would highly recommend considering taking a consultancy package. They will be able to answer all your questions specific to your business and not only the project services apps, but even the POS apps. Thank you. Okay. Are the video calls stable in inter bandwidth or fiber 20? Yeah.
Great question. I guess you should maybe test. That will be the best answer.
In our office, no, I'm kidding. in our experience with stable connections, we haven't had any issues. But of course, that's kind of an external factor as well. How the small question linked to the demonstration, is it possible to have a fully email inbox integration, same email? Depends on what you consider fully email inbox integration. We can integrate outgoing email servers that goes a certain way, so you can send emails from Odoo and also receive them in Odoo in the chatter.
It also depends on the configuration that you set on your profile. You can choose if you want to set your notifications via Odoo or via email.
Indeed.
So I'm not sure where is the what's the question really referring to, but yeah, it can either be about the the email server or the configuration of your profile.
Indeed. Now I don't know if I'm missing some questions from up. Okay, for example, here, when you have a ticket, you create a task to fix the issue. Task is part of an M&S contract. Material, no, it will be another thing. Does that work connect the task to the project, and how does an employee keep track of his own tasks and priority? So here, what I'm getting at is that you're asking about a possible connection between tickets, the projects, the tasks, and also that the employee can see their own tasks and the priority. What's good is that with one of the features that we showcase, we have that connection that we can access quite easily just by doing the convert to task action that we did before. I'm just gonna do it here again, so we remember convert to task, and you can choose a project and stage. Then, depending on the, let's say, visibility the employee has on the different projects, they could be only able to see their own tasks, or decide to only see their own tasks by going into the project app, My Tasks, of course. And here you have the option to mark them as a high priority or a normal priority.
Yeah, and in the chatter you will have the link between both the ticket and the task, so that you can access the other record quickly if you want to.
As well. Okay. Let's see if we have any more questions down here.
Yes, go ahead with your questions.
Go ahead. I think we stopped. Oof, there are many new questions actually.
Nice.
Okay, so how can I set a sub account in a chart of account? Example, sales A, sales B, sales C under sales account. I would say, if necessary, increase the digits of your code, and of course use that to your advantage to signify when something is a main account or a sub account. But in general, again, in Odoo, you don't tend to need this specific account, so really think about it before you do a change like this.
I am trying the project module and was not able to assign an employee to a task. Indeed, like I said before, on the project app you can assign users, and in planning you can assign for employees as well. So it depends on which application you're using.
Exactly. Can I develop my own custom reports with Odoo? With the Studio app, you can, the magic answer?
Yeah, it depends really what you need to do. The reports are very powerful. Use filters, use groups, and you can also, like David showed, you can also add the pivot view. You can insert your tables into a spreadsheet, and in a spreadsheet you can do formulas or reports, so you can do even more. So
yeah. And I would add to that you can take advantage of our own spreadsheets, create your own dashboards, take it to the next level, basically. Okay. Here we are. Is there some way to transfer a product? I have frozen food that needs to be cooked. Then the product is the same and must be the same. Variance doesn't work, but no way to transform it. I think I'm missing some information here. Definitely look into the MRP app, but for specific questions like this, I would consider getting a consultancy package.
Yeah.
If you get an email from an existing customer, can you connect it with the Odoo contact card? Indeed,
I guess you're talking about an opportunity in the CRM, or?
Yes, or even in the contact themselves, but.
Okay, because if you are talking about the CRM app and you have an email alias configured, then every time that someone sends an email to that alias, you will have a new opportunity created.
Okay. When restoring a database, what is the difference between copied database and moved database, and what are the resultant effects for each? Yes, so I believe this comes from maybe a database that was dropped. I don't know the exact details of why it might have been dropped, so contact whether it was your sales agent or the person from support who gave you this information. They will be able to answer a lot better.
What is the difference between subtasks and activities?
Mm.
So subtask would be a task that you have to perform, but you want to englobe it in another task. So this is more like a hierarchy way of how you structure your projects. Tasks can take 1 day, several days, it can take a month. On the other hand, activities are just one action that you want to accomplish in one moment. For example, uploading a document or doing a call, doing a meeting, and maybe we can show how to do both.
Yeah. So we can even do it from the tasks themselves.
Yeah. So from here, if you go to subtask tab, you can create subtasks for this task, okay? And for example, if the drone is not working, maybe you will have different subtasks like check what's not working, and yeah.
One is good enough.
Thank you. And then in order to check if it's not working or not, maybe you need to create an activity, and the activity will be with the technician or a call or something like this.
Yeah.
So you can create it directly from the chatter. For example, it can be a call with the technician or the technician with the customer.
Exactly. So they work in tandem. You can use it not only in this app, but in, I believe, almost any other app with the chatter, if not any other app. But it's especially useful for the CRM. So another thing to take into account.
Okay.
This is Odoo spreadsheet similar to competitors. Yes, it is quite similar. You can create your test database and try it out for yourself, of course. Some things will be more accessible in Odoo, some things in other systems. That's why they're different. So you're always free to try it out. I'm sure the link was dropped somewhere in the shadow.
Yeah. For the help desk, can the customers create himself a ticket and view his own tickets? Yes, they can create a ticket as well. You can do it in two different ways. One of them will be configuring an email alias for your help desk team. That's the one that David is showing right there. And the other way would be configuring, for example, a contact form on your website. If you're using Odoo website, then you can add a contact form there, and this will create, exactly with that feature, and this will create automatically a ticket every time that someone fills in the form. You actually also have the live chat. Yeah.
Yeah. If
so
none of that, a lot of options. If none of that helps, you can still just create them manually, as I did.
Of course, if someone calls on the phone and you need to create a ticket, you of course have the option to do that.
Indeed. Okay. It will be really great if you could assign employees right away from tasks in projects, so I don't have to work double planning. I see.
Okay, that's a good feedback as well.
Yeah. We'll take it into account for sure. Can employees post images and videos on projects or tasks? I mean, you can definitely attach files, whether it's images, videos, in the shader of the tasks. So that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Yeah, and also on the description of the task, it's also an enriched field, so you can use a command in order to add images or videos. Maybe
Indeed.
You can show that as well.
Let's
the project task. Yep.
So here.
So yeah. Oh no.
It's a little different. This
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We
So
have,
with this command, you can look for image. Maybe you should write here. I don't know where are the letters.
That's fine. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that was in B15.
No.
Have it?
Permiso. Thanks. Up. Okay, maybe with article, no, this is for knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the feature is not there anymore.
Yeah, it was
but-
possible in B15, but
Okay.
that created some issues with performance.
Okay,
let's say.
in any case, you can always add the link as well, so maybe that will
Exactly.
work
Exactly. Always add the link, or if necessary, even attach the file to
to the chatter. Yeah.
That won't be any problem. Okay. So maybe one last question. How to follow the project budget in Odoo, real cost, forecast, planned budget, all-encompassing question. There are many tools besides using the reporting feature that we have already seen to see whatever specific thing you need to find. I would highly suggest using the project update of our different projects.
Yeah.
And here, well,
Yeah, so here you have a clear view of the sales orders that you have opened, what has been sold, what delivered, what invoiced. You also have your purchase orders, if you had any. Here you also have an overview of that. And everything that's reflected on this menu is thanks to analytic accounting. So remember, you have to activate it in your settings and use the analytic account on the sales orders, invoice, bills in order for them to be reflected here. Also in the accounting, you can activate the configuration for budget management, and if you do, you can create a budget for your projects. So, and then you will have also planned amounts versus real amounts, incomes or spent.
exactly. So it's a very powerful tool, as many things in Odoo. Hopefully you find all the information you need here. But that's it for us. Thank you for joining us. We definitely enjoyed it, I would say. I hope we answered or at least showed you a lot of new things that you will eventually use in your own cases.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for coming. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, so thank you.